Hi everybody! Today's project is going to be to replace the exhaust elbows on both engines. While we were down on our training cruise, that starboard engine is still shuttering really bad, and I know we didn't have anything on the prop. Everything was clean. We've had the sail drives completely serviced at Just Catamaran, so it's not that. So I was wondering if maybe it's just a bunch of back pressure. When we had the transmission clutch updated, I guess, rebuilt on that port sail drive, we had to pull all the connections off to the exhaust elbow, and I did get some pictures in there. It's pretty gnarly in there. It looks like it's been in, like it was hanging out with the Titanic for a little while. It looks pretty bad in there. Because you got to remember that there's salt water being injected into the exhaust right at that point. So you've got this hot gas going through, you've got coldish or warm, whatever, colder certainly, seawater, and it's just going to rust the crap out of it, and it's going to plate a bunch of calcium all over everything. Check this out. I found online a new exhaust elbow, but this is stainless steel. So that's the way it should look inside. Obviously nice and clean. Looks pretty sweet. Comes with a new gasket and a new water elbow as well that's also stainless steel. That guy mounts over here. Is where it mounts. So I'm going to be installing this on the port engine to start with, and then I'll get over and do it on the starboard engine as well. But I thought I'd bring you along and show you some of the highlights of getting this project done. In theory, it shouldn't be too bad, right? We're going to take out we're going to take out 5 bolts. We're going to pull the old one off, disconnect the hoses and such, pull it off. We're going to put the new one on. If everything went perfectly swimmingly, I would guess it would be maybe a 45-minute, hour-long job at the most. But we're dealing with exhaust bits, right? So we've got bolts that could seize, anything could happen. So, we snap a bolt, then hilarity ensues. It's just going to be a nightmare. So it's one of the first projects I want to get done before we head north up to Annapolis, because if I screw anything up on this, I want time to be able to fix it. So it's kind of top of the priority list. It's getting done today. All right, well, let's get into that engine bay. We'll see what we're looking at and see what's in store for us today. This is the port engine bay. The bit we're looking for is back here on the exhaust. So this engine is a Volvo D260. And the Volvo D260 has a big turbocharger on it. So this is our exhaust elbow here. This is the big exhaust pipe going down to our muffler. And over here is the water that's coming in to cool the exhaust. So it comes all the way up in there. There's a big vacuum brake. So this is the water lines that are coming out of the engine after the raw water cooling, going up to that vacuum brake, and then being connected right here. So we're going to have to disconnect this. We're going to have to disconnect this hose as well, and that's going to be tough because it's pretty darn stiff. We'll have to pull this cover off of the turbo, and our bolts are here on the side. So there's our 5 bolts we have to get off without breaking them. That'll be interesting. We don't have to separate this because we have a new part, which is great. The originals here appear to be iron. At least when we take them off and you see inside, you'll be like, holy cow, that's the thing. So all right, let's get this guy sorted. Let's get these hoses off and let's get started. There it goes. Okay, so there's the hose off. Okay, so that was the one I was most worried about. Wow, there's a lot of rust in there too. Boy, that's pretty bad. Okay, next is going to be our raw water inlet. So let me get these clamps off. They are 7mm, looks like. Loosen these guys up. Get this guy loose. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Alright, now that's pretty full of water too, so let me get something to clean a bit of this up. We have to be careful of that because that is completely filled all the way to the top. And it's the outlet, so there's not much we can do about it. I'll pour some of that out as well. Yuck. Lots of little rusty bits. Okay, well I'm going to pour a little of this out just so I don't have any fuss. Okay, there we go. Alright, Well, I have to say that went a lot easier than I thought it was going to. I know that the big exhaust elbow was pulled off when they worked on the sail drive, because they had to separate the sail drive from the engine, and they had to pull the engine forward, actually, because you can't move the sail drive, obviously, it goes through the boat. But they needed to get to some bolts that were on top of the sail drive, so So I know that they removed that before, but I don't think they've ever removed the raw water one, so that one came off easier than I thought. Next is going to be just to get this cover here off of the turbo, because we just need that out of the way. It's spring loaded on the side here, it just sort of clamps around it. Yeah, it feels like it just sort of clamps around, and there's just a spring inside there that I need to take off. So I'll just pull that off with a little pair of needle nose pliers or something, and then I should be able to get this cover off, and then we'll see a little better what we're dealing with. There it goes. Alright, so that's that. Everything else, I don't need it completely off, per se. There's another bolt here that we're going to have to take off. Looks like it's just a brace. Something is braced to it. Oh, it goes down to the engine block there, so that's interesting. Wow. That's, I don't know what that's for. Anyway, let's hope that's on our new piece. We'll have to make sure that's there before we go any further. Alright, so it'll be just below this. This thing should be pointing straight down. This is pointing down. This is pointing down. And then we should see this bolt hole back here. Alright, let's go double check our part. Alright. And there we go. There's our bolt hole that we were looking for. This guy's going to have to mount in downward like that. Alright, so that looks good. Alright, looks like our part is the right part. So the reason I'm checking this is I did a big search on Volvo D260, but I believe the D275s have exactly the same elbow. At least it was listed for D260 and D275, so that's 60 horsepower, 75. Both of those engines are turbocharged, so that's why this elbow is this way. If you have a smaller engine, a little lesser horsepower, like the 40, like a D240 or whatever, that is a completely different elbow because there's no turbo involved. Well, this is looking good. We've got our bracket bolt there. I think we're all set here. Let's go see what we can do to get that elbow off. These are 6mm cap bolts here. We got 5 of them to take off. Just make sure that you have a very good Allen wrench here. This one is a Craftsman, so I know the tolerance is really tight on these. I found that like the Harbor Freight ones and some of the cheaper ones, they're plenty strong enough. It's just that their tolerance kind of sucks, and so you put them in there and they kind of woggle back and forth a little bit, and it's a great way to spin the inside of one of these bolts. All right, so let's see. Let's just pick one here and see how we go. That moved a little bit and then stopped. Oh, there it goes. Okay, good. All right, well, there's one. Let's see what kind of condition these bolts are in. Well, they're definitely a little rusty, I'd say, but they don't look too awfully bad. And that rust feels like it's surface. I'm really more interested in the threads. Are they galled? Are they? There's a little bit of corrosion in the threads. I'll clean these up, and of course they're going to get tough gel when they go back in. We'll be going through stainless steel. All right, so that's one. That one looks pretty good as well. Not bad at all, I'd say. In fact, no rust at all on these threads. Not bad at all. That's great. Yay, that one came out. Oh, this one's tight. This one's really tight. This one's scary. All right, how about this one? That one moved a little bit. Tight, really tight. How about this one? That one goes. All right, there it goes. Good. Bolts are looking super consistent here. Not a ton of rust. I'm wondering if it's the heads that are the bit underneath here that's really kind of what's causing a fuss on these here. These two. There, that one's gone. Good. All right, so that leaves one. This one feels a little crunchier. Yeah, quite a bit more rust on this one as it came out. There's a bit of rust on the threads as well, and some degradation on these threads too. Might need to replace that particular bolt. We'll have to take a look at it. Alright, this bottom one could be a pill. You know, I could try some PT Blaster or something on that. I guess I can spray it on there. I just never have good luck with that stuff. It just doesn't seem to get in there at all. And a lot of times it's really not really very effective anyways, because you've got rust particles in there, and those rust particles kind of work against each other and they sort of just lock these things in. Alright, well, we just got to work this one out. We try going a little bit tighter, a little looser. Kind of alternate tightening and loosening. A little looser. I can see it turning a little bit. I can see the head sort of turning a little bit, but it feels like the bolt itself just doesn't really want to come out. Well, it just doesn't feel good. That's for sure. Let me try a couple of things before I screw this up completely. I think I'm going to hit it a little bit with a hammer. I know that sounds funny, but hopefully it'll sort of crack loose a little bit. And I'll go get some PT Blaster. All right, I'll be back in a minute. I've got a little liquid wrench here. I don't hold out really any hope at all for this because our bolts are so long and they're threaded way into the base of the turbo here that this bolt, I mean, I can get something on the shank, but I can see the head of it kind of moving a little bit. So I can tell that the bolt is actually twisting. So I don't think this is actually going to do anything at all, but whoops. Put a little bit of love in there. Maybe it'll help loosen up a little bit. It is sort of soaking in, which is good. And give it a few taps with a hammer. Maybe break something loose a little bit. All right, I want to smush it. And just see the bolt. I can just feel the bolt twisting, which means it's going to snap. All right, well, let me fuss with this a bit. I'll come back if I figure out a way to get this off. I'll let you know. I'm gonna have to be kind of careful with it. So I just don't want to waste your time. So this could take a while. Back in a minute. Okay, it was a massive, massive fuss to get that last bolt out. I actually started working on the starboard engine as well because we have to do both. And I thought, well, I'll just take them out. Exact same bolt seized up. I'm gonna call Heidi in for her to see this. You won't believe this. This is crazy. Hey, Heidi. Heidi?
Yeah?
Yeah, come here. Check this out. You got to see this. Yeah, take a look at this.
This is what you've been working on.
Yeah, this is what I've been working on. So, look at this. All right.
Look.
All right.
Ew.
Yeah. So this.
Wow.
Look at how bad that is. That is just insanity. Look at how bad that is. Looks like it spent a lot of time at the bottom of with the Titanic or something, right?
Wow.
Okay, just for reference, this is the new one.
I know. I've been
All
looking
right?
at it. That's
And
crazy.
So that's what came off the starboard side. That is the bolt, and it's in two pieces because it snapped in the center. Look at that, Heidi. See how it's necked down tremendously in the center?
Ouch.
The bottom threads, I was able to actually pull that out by hand. It was never the threads that was seized. It was the bolt itself inside the shaft, inside the little holes there. Also, and super importantly, that's what the water intake should look like.
Okay.
Look at that's restricted down to the point where there's almost no flow through at all. It's terrible. So we've got this one here, which is the new part, and
You can
look how
actually
big that is.
see into it.
Yeah.
That one you can't see at all.
Isn't that something? Wow, that's
Kinda
just
nauseating.
nuts. Yeah, it looks really bad. So once again, it should look like that.
Can I ask a question?
What?
I like Volvo, but why would they use something that's not stainless if this is going to happen?
That's
to
a
it?
great question. So the part we are replacing here is actually stainless.
Yeah.
So it's an upgraded part, and that is awesome. So why didn't Volvo do
just
that?
Start that way?
You know, it's a great question. I don't have an answer for you.
I'm so glad that you thought of doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those things like, well, maybe I should do that. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, she could have left it.
So
It wasn't broken.
It wasn't, but we noticed on our way back and when we were sort of motoring up, it happened a lot actually in the channel here when we were coming back up, that starboard engine was just going go, 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 as it was coming up, and it was just shuddering really bad.
Yep.
And we do know from the survey that it overheated at full throttle. So
Yep.
I can see now exactly why. There's no water flow
I
through
can't
it.
imagine that the port one's going to be any different.
Right. So I have the bolt on the port when I have to get off. I think I'm just going to break it and pull it out because this one spun out by hand. The little bolt, whatever was left of the bolt came right out.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the actual bolt bit that was the problem. It was the shaft actually. So I think I'm going to do the same sort of thing. Work the other one out. We'll have to replace obviously all the bolts, and I think we're going to have a much happier engine in the end here. So, wow,
Aww,
huh?
The engine is excited.
It is. All right, well, I'll pick this up again when we get the new bolts and we're ready to assemble. And if anything happens on the port one, I'll show you that one as well. But I think this really tells us what we needed to do.
It's terrible.
It's pretty
gross,
bad, isn't
but
it?
yeah.
All right, okay. All right, we'll be back in a sec. I was able to get the port one out. Came out just the same way as the starboard did. I had to break the bolt, then work this piece off of the remaining stud, and then the stud just came out by hand. So take a look, here it is. So that's it, kind of grody.
It's bad.
Yeah, check this out. So I'm showing Heidi here. So look at this.
It looks like the other one.
Yeah, it does. It's pretty bad, huh? And look at all that sulfur.
Only
in there
a matter of time till they both would have failed.
Yep. Yeah. So there's the hole in the back for the water there. It's not quite as bad as the other one, but I mean, still sucks. It's just really bad. I'd like to give a special shout out to Warren of We Sail.
Right. Another FP owner.
Right, so he has an FP44, and they were leaving, they're in the Pacific actually, and so they were leaving, and one of their engines just went blah, 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 would not come up on the power, and somebody said, did you check your elbows, your exhaust elbows? And so he pulled them off, and they looked just like this. They were awful, so bad. If it wasn't for watching that video, I probably wouldn't have thought about this. I'm really glad I did, holy cow. So Warren, I don't know if you ever watched this video, but thank you so much. Oh my God, that's just so helpful. So
Warren, you're awesome.
Yeah. We got to get new bolts. So obviously we got to get a new set of bolts. I'll pick this up when I've got all the parts and I can reassemble everything. I'm really excited. It's going to be killer when we start up the engines. Oh, I think they're going to be really happy. So
they might not shutter by this one.
Yeah, hopefully that's the whole thing. They don't shutter.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let me get the extra parts. We'll pick it up in a bit.
Hi everyone, sorry for the interruption. This is Heidi from Real Time, and we have been using our HDI exhaust elbows now for over a year, and we are very pleased with them. We reached out to HDI to see if it would be at all possible to get a discount code for you if you are upgrading your systems right now. And so if you use the discount code svingenuity for your purchase, you will receive 5% off. So I just wanted to give you that good news, and now back to our video.
Well, we've been through a lot since I took these things off the engine. We had stuck wastegates on the old turbos. We tried to take them down to get them rebuilt, and they wanted $1,300 to rebuild each of the turbos. Now, they're not really worth that much money new, so that was ridiculous. And he said, if I can get the parts, and he said he couldn't get the parts, so that was a bust. Well, I managed to find 2 new turbos, brand new. These are IHI turbos from a company in the UK called Parts the number 4 Engines. We're not sponsored by them in any way or anything. It's just where I found the part. And I ordered them and they just came in today. And cool thing is it's kind of a kit. So it comes with all the gaskets and everything that you need here, which is really nice. And the turbo itself is just it's an IHI turbo. It's all nice, brand new. Looks great. I think this is going to work out really well. And most importantly, check this out. No stuck wastegate. Look at that. All right. So we got a bit of work to do. We're going to install the turbos, and you remember these guys, right? You remember the destroyed elbows here. This guy here, right?
Disgusting.
So these things were worthless, right? They're worthless. So we've got our new elbows here. These are the stainless steel ones, and it's also a little bit of a kit this guy mounts on here. And I've got these and the new turbos, and I'm really excited to get all this stuff on the engines. I think they're going to be super happy compared to the way they were before. So it looks like it's a lot of stuff, but I think it's actually going to go together pretty easily. This guy literally bolts to the side of the turbo. You can see the 5 bolt pattern here. This guy goes on top of this thing here like that with this, and we've got a brand new gasket here, so that's great. And I also got all new bolts. So in fact, I got 20 of them. There's 5 per side, and I got myself an extra set. So that's pretty cool. Got all brand new bolts. We're all set to go there. Well, I think all that's left is just to put these things on ×2, because we have both engines to do. And I'm really excited about this.
Franny has lots of helpers this morning.
So this is an IHI turbo and not something that Volvo builds. They just bought this. And I believe they're Japanese turbos, which is kind of nice. I'm pretty excited about that. It's a good quality part. So I've got the turbo in, it's mounted to the exhaust manifold. I got my 2 oil lines on. Something very important that you need to do is before you hook up your bottom oil line first, then before you put your top oil line on, you want to fill it up with some engine oil. You want to make sure that the turbo is sort of pre-lubed, and so I filled it all the way up, and then you go in and sort of stick your finger in the end and spin the hub a little bit, just make sure that it spins, and we've got a little bit of oil moving through it. We really don't want to start this turbo up dry. Another thing that they suggested was to do a complete oil change before you start. Probably a really good idea. I really want to do an oil change when we get up to Annapolis. The engines just haven't been run much at all since their last oil change, and the oil looks really good, actually. I've been checking it quite a bit. Oil level's not moving anywhere, and it's not dead black. Diesels always look a little bit dirty, but I can definitely see the oil color underneath it, so I know the oil's still relatively clean. I don't know. You can make that decision yourself when you put in a turbo if you want to replace the oil and do a complete oil change there. So it looks like it's come together pretty well. I do want to remember to put this guy on. This is the little heat shield, the little jacket that they put around the turbo. I'll put that on last. One thing to remember is this is most likely asbestos. That would be my guess. So I have a water sprayer that I've been spraying this down to keep the fibers down. It's one of the ways you mitigate issues from asbestos here. So this thing's it's a little damp, which is fine. As soon as the engine warms up, it will take that water right out of there. I'm not worried about it. It just snaps together on the other side here, and then there's a spring that holds it, so it just sort of cradles around the turbo. Keeps the hot side nice and hot, increases efficiency, and also reduces a bit of the heat loss on the turbo as well, keep the engine bay a little cooler. So this is kind of an important part, but I think it's going to go on last. Since now we have the turbos on, is going to be this guy. This is our new exhaust elbow I'm very excited about. They have new bolts for it. The new ones are different than the old ones. I also have some tough gel, because this is now stainless steel. These bolts are regular steel. They could corrode, and if they corrode, we're going to have the same issues we had last time. In fact, we had an iron elbow before, and we had steel screws, and they still corroded really bad and locked up. So anyway, I'm going to be tough gelling these guys. Already tough gelled the bolts that assemble this water inlet bit up here on the top. We have our new gasket here. I think we're all set, so that's my next task. That's our turbo installed. I think it looks great. We got the new exhaust elbow on. We've got our intake back on. Now we do still have to do our little skirt here that goes around the turbo, but I don't want to put that on just yet because I want to check for oil leaks here and just make sure everybody's happy. And when everything is great and we're really happy, I'll go ahead and put that sleeve back on again. But for now, I just want to check things out, get the engine running, and see if we've got any issues. And one thing I want to remember to do is turn on the raw water inlet. It's on top of the sail drive because we need to cool the engine. There we go. I'm over here working on the starboard turbo install, and I thought I should show you what an actual working wastegate really is like. So the wastegate is actually controlled down here by this cylinder here. It's got a pressure line that comes down here from the intake and a rod that comes out of it that goes across. So the rod's hooked up on this side over here, and we push it. There we go. We can see the wastegate opening. That's what it's supposed to do, and that's what's locked up on the old turbos. And in the old turbos, I think what it is actually the shaft that is completely seized. So that's a thing. But there's a really strong spring on this. It's really kind of hard to push. You have to kind of work on it a bit. There we go. So if you want to test your turbos, go down, try and move that guy. You should be able to move it like that, and it should go out, come back, go out and come back. Now, there is a decent amount of resistance on it, but you should be able to get it to move. If it doesn't move at all, it's probably seized. And from what I read, most of these engines just don't get throttled enough, and they don't go high enough in the RPMs, and these guys always seize up. So, I don't know, it's kind of a thing. But after I don't know, 8 months, something like that, of just normal usage, they can seize back up. So if you want to test your turbo, that's probably the easiest way to do it. And you can decide if you think the wastegate is really that important or not. You know, it's there as a safety precaution. If the turbo overboosts, then that little round servo in there will push on the arm and open the wastegate and sort of blow out the pressure and moderate everything. That's what it's for. My guess is it doesn't get used very often, and from what I've read, these things barely boost over 0.5 bar, so that's like 7, 8 psi at the most, that sort of thing. So it's not a lot of pressure, and it's quite possible, since this is just a turbo, off-the-shelf turbo, that maybe that thing never does open. Who knows? I don't know. It just made me feel a lot better to have one that has one that's working, because I was a little worried about that, and there was so much salt and corrosion inside of the old one. I don't know, felt like it needed to be replaced. So anyway, that's how you can test yours on your engine. If you've got a Volvo engine like that, or pretty much anything with these IHI turbos, you should be able to move that wastegate. So one last thing I did have to modify is this bracket. It bolts to the actual engine case and then to the bottom of the exhaust elbow, or the outside of it, I suppose, and it's a little too tight. So when I try to put it in, the holes are, let's see, I think they're too far apart. So what I've done to fix this is this top hole up here, I just bored it out a little bit bigger, and then I was able to get the thing on. There is a slot here at the bottom, but it's all the way at the end when you try to put this thing in, and I suppose you could elongate the slot. Either way, I just found it easier to make the hole just a smidgen bigger, but I did find that to be the same problem on both. And so that's an issue with the exhaust elbow, not the turbos, because this thing mounts to the exhaust elbow, not the turbo. So if you're just replacing the exhaust elbow, you might have to modify this bracket as well. It's not a big deal. Just make the hole a little bit bigger and you'll be able to get the bolt right in. Well, it's the moment of truth. We're going to start this port engine. I want to check for any type of leaks, water leaks, oil leaks, anything like that. Just make sure everything is flowing, doing its thing. I want to make sure we've got water going over the side. And hopefully, wish us luck, everything works out. I'm going to have Heidi up at the helm. She's going to go ahead and start the engine. I want to make sure that the module for the engine is running, because it's checking things like temperature and oil and all that sort of stuff. So really a good idea to have that on. I can start the engine down here, but if I do, if I start it directly from here, then I don't get the monitoring. So want to make sure we do it from the helm. All right, well, I'm going to drop down in the engine bay. Heidi's going to go up and start the engine. Let's see how it goes.
Ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Gotta hold this on for just a second.
We're looking for oil leaks. Well, I'll tell you, it's quieter than it was. Yeah, water's gonna do our thing.
Okay, now I'm gonna run over.
Seeing water, Heidi?
Yep, I'm seeing.
Got water?
Well, yeah, I am. I'm definitely seeing 2 water sources. So we're looking for the small one and the large one, which is happening too.
Alright, look at that.
How you doing, Sandy?
Boy, it just sounds smoother. A lot quieter. Really sounds a lot different. Alright, look at that. Okay. No oil leaks down here. the exhaust, so we don't have any exhaust leaks. Let's check our water on the other side. This is our water here. Look at that, nice and dry, no leaks there at all either. Checking that out. Good. Also checking the bolts here on the elbow. They look good. No leakage through the air, although they're really not exposed. They're in tubes. Okay. And I also just replaced the fan belt. The fan belt was a mess. It actually was split. So that's not good. Alright, well we're going to let the engine roll for about 10 minutes here and let it just sort of warm up. Make sure we get oil through the turbo. But I'm going to say that looks pretty good. Everything down here is nice and dry. I don't see any issues. The engine idle isn't going all over the place, which means we don't have air leaks, any of that. Everything looks great. So, all right, let's get back to it in about 10 minutes.
And the idle, it's about, it's actually really good. It's really good.
Boy, it sounds a lot better, I'll tell you that. Sounds a lot better.
So it looks like it's...
Should be somewhere around 800.
Yep.
Yep, that's where it is. That's what it's supposed to be.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll let that go for 10 minutes. Let's see how it goes. All right, well, we'll come back to it in just a few minutes and we'll rev it up a little bit and see how it sounds.
Yep. One of the things that we learned is how to throttle the engine without actually putting it into gear. And so when you pull out on these, you can throttle it up.
Go ahead and give me 1500 RPM, Heidi, and I'll check the engine. All right, let's see how we're doing down here. Give me 2,000 revolutions, please. Idle, please. Hear the turbo. You can hear the turbo whine, so we know the turbo's working.
So I'm gonna go ahead and insert it back in.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, great.
All right. We're gonna be doing the exact same thing on the starboard engine.
We are, but first I think we're done here, and I feel pretty good about this engine actually. It seems to be working just fine. I'm gonna go ahead and stop it. There it goes, and we turn our system off. Okay, all right. All right, yay! So the port engine's done. I just have to put that little skirt around the turbo. I'll let it cool down a little bit before I do that. But that's all that's left. So everything's great over there, sounds good. We're gonna do the starboard side. It's just the same as the port side. In fact, they're identical engines, not even mirror images, they're identical engines. So I won't bore you with that unless I run into some issues, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So we're really close. We hope to be out of here in a week or so, maybe, what is today? So today is like Thursday. So yeah, we hope to be out of here in about a week or so. So that's kind of our hope. We just need to get stuff done and get the rest of this stuff done.
Thanks for watching and staying till the end, and we'd like to give a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. Until next time, safe travels. Bye. Join us next time when Franny jumps into some really murky water to check on our props. She also goes up on the mast for the very first time, and we even rescue a lizard.